Thank you for tuning in. We are Tristan and Michael, and you are listening to Fuse, Transparent Conversations for Marriage, Family, and Relationships. We invite you to join us as we discuss perspectives that are thought about but not talked about. So tell your friends and family to check us out, connect with us on social media, and join the conversation by emailing us at info@fusedmarriages.com. All right, Michael, so what are we jumping into today?
All right, today we just have an interesting topic. I think they're all interesting, so I may need to stop saying that. To me, they all are interesting, but I think hopefully to you they are too.
Yeah.
Because it's really about family, relationships, and marriage, right? And this one, it's a little sensitive topic because it's about ringing the alarm, right?
Ringing the alarm.
I say that ringing the alarm. I don't know if y'all familiar with this. There was an alarm company that came out. I'm not sure what, back in the 70s, 80s. I can't remember exactly when, but they're called Brinks.
Brinks Home Security.
Home Security.
I remember the logo.
Similar now. They probably have transformed. They got this thing called the Ring now, right? Where you can go, you got a little doorbell and you can see people coming in. It's on your phone app. But basically, this is just an alarm system.
An alarm system.
Right? So we call it Brinks. Well, I'm bringing up the term Brink because like sometimes we get on the brink of our relationship.
On the brink.
Right. And on the brink of like, okay, you know what? You do one more thing.
That's it.
Oh, actually, matter of fact, you know what? You done that one more thing. You don't even know it. And that's it.
Wow.
So the alarm is already had went off. It's been probably ringing and going crazy. And now people are like, you know what? No. I'm on the brink. You just find I'm on the brink, but I've been on the brink. And that's the topic. You know what happens when relationships get to the point where they're on the brink? How do they get there? Like, what are some of the things that actually end up feeding into that causes that? Right. Sometimes, you know what? We ignore it. I may have ignored some things. You may have ignored some things. And other times, like, you just don't know about it. So that's what we're going to talk about today.
All right. Well, let's jump in. So kick it off for us.
Oh, yeah. So the first topic is, you know what happens when, you know what, he or she just stops talking. You know what? Y'all been dealing with each other. Y'all been going back and forth. But sometimes, you know what, they don't talk back to you. They shut down. They were talking and they shut down. And then, you know what does that look like on the other side of it? To me, that's an alarm. Yeah. If they shut down on you, talking back and forth, saying, you know what, no, I'm good. Yeah. Hey, how you doing? Yeah. I'm good. Hey, can we talk about, you know what, how we gonna deal with this and the finances? No, I'm good. Ooh. You on those are alarms. Yeah. That are ringing.
And what you're saying too is that this is progressive. So nobody is just on the brink. They wake up, I'm on the brink. A lot of these things have been happening over a period of time. And you might have not noticed, like you said, it might have not been articulated. And this is where we talk about a lot, checking in with your partner. But you might have not noticed until that one day it's like, man, I don't know what happened. They just wanted a divorce, or they wanted to be separated, or they didn't want to be bothered with me, or now I think my spouse is seeing somebody else, or any number of things that can happen. But you just don't wake up one morning and that's where it is. There are signs along the way. Yeah. And this is one of them, that they don't want to talk. So when we're dating, you talk all the time. You cake in, on the phone, you listen to each other breathe, you're, falling asleep, waking up, you still there, that might be that young love. And then even as your love grows and you have more responsibility, you're just happy to be married. And I've said this before, nobody gets married thinking I'm going to also get divorced. Everybody gets married thinking this is going to be forever. We're saying our vows, we're looking at each other in the eyes, we're having all of our friends and family come and witness. So divorce, I mean, even if you decided you're going to have a prenup, the goal still isn't I'm going to get divorced. The goal still is I want to be with this person. So I say that because as we're talking about having conversation, we see conversation in the dating, we see conversation when you're married, when you're wedding planning, when you're about to have the kids, but making sure that you're having deep conversation along the way, so that it's not this kind of I'm good, and making sure that the conversation, like I said, you're going somewhere with it, that it's much more than surface conversation. That's a warning sign if they no longer want to have deep meaningful conversation with you where you're really talking about the heart of the person, not the logistics. And we've had this conversation before. There is a big difference, friends, between having a logistical conversation. These are the things that we need to do. These are the groceries that we need. This is where the kids need to go. These are the errands I need you to run. This thing needs to be fixed. And having that interpersonal conversation where you're talking at level 2, you know, hey, what's going on with your mind? What's going on with your heart? What do you think about this? And these conversations have to be not about logistics. So you saying, man, I really just don't like that dance coach. I think that such and such can do better. I think that we need to look here. Or man, I'm not feeling this baseball team. I think we can switch. That is not a conversation that is not logistical, even though it's not basketball was good. That's still a logistical conversation. Yeah. I'm talking about a conversation that has nothing to do with your kids, that has nothing to do with your errands, but is really like, hey, so what have you been thinking about recently? Right. And when you say, how was your day? It was good. It was good. What was good about it? Mm-hmm. Anything bad happen? Well, what do you think about that? Oh, and just engaging and making sure that you remain friends, because we hook up with each other because we like each other. Yeah. And then somehow along the way, we stop being friends. Yeah. And then after you stop being friends, then you're just roommates. And if you're just my roommate, you know, then what do we really have?
I know one of the things that we started doing, even as of recently, is like, you know what, we call them check-ins. Mm-hmm. Like, hey, I'm just checking in. Yeah. Like literally like, hey, well, you know, how you feeling? Yeah. Well, okay, why are you asking? I'm just checking in. I ain't got no agenda. Yeah. Won't want anything. I'm just checking in. I don't care how you say, if you have a bad, good, or indifferent. I'm just checking in. Yeah. So I think it's good to have those check-ins, and like, if you don't have, you know, the conversation, like this person is not trying to talk to you, and it's just something in my mind is saying, you know what, if you want something to die, stop talking to it. Mm. So if that's what they want, hopefully they give you the honest enough opinion to say, hey, this is where I'm at. You know what? I just don't want to be with you anymore. Maybe they're trying to be passive aggressive, like, oh, I'm not gonna talk to them. Mm. I'm not gonna give them the time of day. Mm-hmm. That could have a reversive effect, because basically you killing that relationship. Yeah. And you need to understand that. That's what's happening. You're not talking to it. You are killing that relationship. You just
jumped all the way in. That's really good. So I really just want to reiterate that. So what you're saying is that even if you're on the brink, if you just decide, well, it is what it is, I'm just not going to talk about it. Yeah. They'll get over it. It's just something that's fleeting. No, you're not helping. Yeah. You're not encouraging the relationship. So by agreeing not to talk, you're both agreeing this relationship is not going anywhere. Right. We're done.
Let's make it plain. It's not that it's not going anywhere. I'm killing it. I'm taking the knife. It's me that's doing it. Mm-hmm. It ain't that person. It ain't this situation. I'm saying, you know what? Let me get the knife. I'm killing the relationship. Mm-hmm. And if that's what you want, that's what you want. But understand that's what's happening whenever you're not talking to your spouse.
So are you saying that it's possible for one partner to be like, I don't have anything to say, and the other person to still keep the relationship alive? Or does it take two? I've heard both.
Man, hey, this is like I don't think it's a movie. I can't remember the exact movie, but like, if one person holds on, there's always a possibility for a relationship. A relationship is only dead when both people let go.
When both people
let go, or both people stop talking. If one can still talk and it's painful to talk to something, I'm talking to this wall and this wall don't give me no feedback. Mm-hmm. At some point, I'm gonna be like, man, I can't take this. I need you to give me something. Yeah. But it depends how strong you are. You're able to talk to a person, even not giving you feedback, to kind of hold on to what's left of it, with the hopes of like, hey, give me something. I'm just trying to see where you're at and getting your feelings and understand, hey, can we just talk?
So how long do you do that? And I know this is different for every person and every family, but I can imagine how beat down you might feel. I'm talking to this wall. I'm talking to this wall. I'm talking to this wall. The wall's not responding. They don't want to talk about it. Now I'm having insecurity issues. I'm having, some frustration. I was mad. Now I'm sad. Now I'm angry. Now I'm feeling neglected. Like there's a whole lot of emotion that goes into that. So how would you, tell people to deal?
How I would tell somebody to deal with, that's a tough question, first of all. Like you said, each situation is different. Yeah. But how I would tell somebody to deal with that, they're trying to talk to somebody, they're not getting feedback. It'd be two criteria I would probably, base it on. Okay. the first one, you know what, are they disrespecting you, right? Are they kind of demeaning you, this, that, and the other, you know, cussing you out, whatever have you, in a way that, you know what, okay, this is not healthy enough for me to even have a conversation with. Okay, let's say they're not doing that. They kind of give you the cold shoulder, kind of like, you know, talking surface level, I'm fine, or, you know what, no, I don't want to talk about that, whatever. Then I would say, what's it worth to you? What's it worth to you? Is it worth a year of doing it? Is it worth 5 years? Is it worth only 2 months, 2 weeks? What's it worth to you? What is that relationship worth to you? Is it worth your life to continue to try? I don't, you know what I mean? That's each person got to decide that for what they feel they poured in.
Right.
And what they see where it can go and how they want to actually continue that on. Because if you really love somebody, it's going to be hard to let it go, right? In my opinion, I think it's going to be hard unless they disrespect you doing something like that. But if they kind of like, man, I know we can be better than this. So I think, what's it worth to you? You got to answer that question on an individual basis. Is it worth the next 6 months of me just kind of like, hey, and I don't know when the end game is. That's the problem. You don't know how long it's going to take.
Yeah.
You're like, man, I've been doing this for like the last, 7 months. Yeah. Is it, man, do I got another 7?
Yeah. And there's other factors too that feed into even the what's it worth to you, because let's say you have kids,
oh yeah,
they're part of that. Man. Is it worth my kids going through this with me as I pursue this relationship? Is this person vacant? Like, are they out of this? So, and that brings me to kind of another point is someone else in your ear? And that can be, let me say, it can be friends that are talking, like, man, she out there doing this, or he no good, he's here. But it can also be, extramarital. It can be affair driven. Like, okay, even if it's not sexual, it can still be emotional connection outside of the relationship. So as we're kind of moving forward, I want to invite you all, if this is something that you've engaged in, or somebody, because these are just a couple of things that kind of put you on the brink. If your partner is not talking, if your partner is not communicating, what are the signs? What have you seen? So hit us up. You can write in a letter, info@fusedmarriages.com, or just connect with us on our social media. Tell us how maybe you overcame this in your own relationship. But also another aspect of this is someone in your ear, someone in that headspace. This can be friends and family, or it can be that girlfriend, he ain't about nothing, or, she's probably da-da-da-da-da. There can be that, or it can be something extramarital. It can be something, which it might not be sexual, but it might be just emotional. Hey, I just feel like I can talk to this guy or this girl that isn't your spouse in a different way. They get me. They understand me. Those are things that we may have heard, if it's personally or through movies or something like that, that there can be somebody else that is in that headspace that interrupts my partner, where now they feel like, man, she's over here. She understands me better. She listens to me. She cares about my wants, needs, emotions, etc. So kind of jump into that. What does that do to the relationship? And should that person still hold on? And how forthcoming are people when this is happening? Is somebody going to say, hey, I just need a little time, or what? What are your thoughts?
Well, I think most people probably aren't going to be as forthcoming. Say, I need a little time to kind of like, hey, you're not talking to me right. Let me go talk to somebody else. It's probably like we talked about, hey, before, right, in the first topic point about, hey, he or she stops talking. I'm a firm believer. We're humans. We communicate. So if we ain't communicating to each other as spouses, I'm communicating to somebody. Yeah. And that's somebody, like I said, it may not be a person of the opposite sex. I may not even be attracted or whatever have you, but I'm communicating to somebody. Yeah. It could be while I'm out on the basketball court. You know what? Me and my boys, we getting just, we start chopping it up and talking about, hey, life and different stuff that's going on. We're not even talking about our relationships. We just talking about life. We're trying to get that out. We got to get that out before we talk about the relationship part. Yeah. So that's a real critical sign. We're talking about alarms here, right? So like, the fact that somebody is in your ear and it's not your spouse, and it could be a friend, a family member even, definitely don't want to get to the point where it's like someone of the opposite sex that you even attracted to, or even know, could feed into like, hey, something that's driving you away from where you were trying to be at, which is at home. Yeah. So, when when somebody gets in your ear and like you kind of get those signs that somebody may be in your spouse's ear, I think you got to kind of look at that like, okay, hey, how can I like redirect that? Or how can I talk to them about that to say, hey, what, you got to be talking to somebody.
Yeah. This is a bunch of different shows in one show right now, because being on the brink, there can be so many different things that can take you to that point. So the first thing we talked about is just, are you talking? Are you communicating? Are you connecting on a deeper level? And then basically the second one we're talking about is maybe reasons why you are not. Maybe there's somebody else there on either side. Like you, like we're talking, that partner might have somebody else in their ear, but you might have somebody that's putting doubt or putting those seeds. So coming back to your partner, because I agree, I don't think many people are going to be talking to somebody else and be like, well, I'm talking to such and such, but there might be the signs along the way. Like that girlfriend, she seems kind of spiteful. And you might not say that to your spouse, but keep that in the back of your mind. Or that cousin that always has something negative to say about your partner. Maybe you overshared at one point and they keep bringing up, like, well, I remember when she did this or he did this. So making sure that you're really protecting your marriage. That's what all of this is about, is protecting your marriage, making sure that you're having deep, intentional conversations, making sure that you're protecting your spouse from outside conversation, and making sure you're protecting yourself. That's that personal responsibility, knowing yourself and being honest with yourself enough to say, you know what, I went to lunch with this group and she keeps sitting next to me and she keeps stopping by my office or by my desk, or she keeps smiling at me, or, every time I see him, he kind of lingers around. So being aware of that. And then also kind of consider making your spouse aware, like whenever I'm around this guy, he kind of makes me feel uncomfortable. So if you see him around, even if it's a friend, that might be a relationship that you have to cut off. For the sake of your marriage. And if it's family, hey, we're going to have to keep a little distance, because, man, not only do they not like you, they're very vocal and they're very disrespectful. And they can be a wedge in our marriage. So just making sure that you're putting those safeguards around yourself, being honest with yourself, being honest with your spouse. Hey, you know what, there's, I'm around my manager and I have to be around my manager. We've talked about this in a previous show. I'm around my manager. I have to be around my manager, but I want you to be aware that sometimes she says some things or sometimes he says some things. So it could come down to, do you need to get another job? Do you need to, because protecting your marriage at all costs might mean making some drastic choices. It might mean having late night conversations when you're really tired. It might mean, okay, I can't really hang around this group anymore. I might need to find some more friends. I might, this has been my best friend for the past 20 years. Well, you might need to make a change. You might need to make a change. So, having someone else in your ear can be extramarital. It can be that, and that does happen, but it can also be, your mom saying some slick stuff about, your spouse, and you might have to say, hey, you know what, Mom, that's not cool with me. I get it. You love me and all that, but you can't, that's disrespectful. I don't really want to hear that or whatever. So having people in your ear can be one of those things that, you have to take a strong stance on, because words are powerful.
They are. They are.
And they can plant seeds. Somebody just saying like, really, I'm surprised you actually married her. I'm surprised you got with him, given da-da-da-da-da. What? I'm
going to tell you the key.
Okay, let's go.
Of understanding if somebody needs to be in your ear or not.
Okay.
It's a simple key.
Feels like it needs like a drum roll or something.
It's a simple key.
The key, all right.
And it's one key.
One key to tell, say it again. The
to
key
tell
to,
if you have the right person,
if you have the
or
right
persons in your ear.
In your ear.
In your ear, which is, we're going to have people, we're going to talk to other people.
Right.
In regards to, our relationship, our life, we got, like you said, managers, family, friends, sisters, cousins, whoever, We're going to have other people. So we're not trying to say, don't talk to nobody.
Right.
That's not what we're saying.
No.
But
you need people.
You need people.
Right.
But to tell if you got the right person in your ear, like the one key that I know that works.
Okay.
Are they driving you toward your relationship or away from it?
Ooh, say it again for the people in the back.
Are they driving you toward your relationship or away from it? Are they pulling you like, you know what? Don't worry about going home. You know what? Just call her, man. Like, tell her you be home in another hour.
She tripping anyway.
Yeah, she tripping anyway. You know what? Man, leave them kids at home. We can go out. Let's go have some fun. We got You got kids somewhere. But matter of fact, they might even say don't leave your kids. They say, let's go. Mm-hmm. They ain't think about your kids. Ooh. You know, it could be all kind of different stuff. You know, hey, your husband, you know what? He tripping anyway. Mm-hmm. Don't worry about that. Your wife, you know what? Man, she always on your neck. Man, just come on out here and let's go shoot some hoops for another 4 hours. You know, you got to do extra 4 hours. Not no 1 or 2. Let's do 4 hours. Yeah. You going all day. Yeah. She at home struggling. Yeah,
it can be that, I know. What you need to do is, and it's not, like you said, it's not driving.
No.
You need to go on a shopping spree and tell.
It's slicker than that.
Okay.
Because to most people that's savvy enough, they're going to pick up on that. Like, it's real subtle. Like, hey, you know what? No, don't worry about that. Let's just go here. It's real. Like, I mean, if that gets you where they can kind of like give you that type of the vibe, then like you probably you're on the ropes anyway. Mm-hmm. But most people are gonna be like, okay, they not gonna bring up, hey, you know what? You got a husband at home that loves you and cares about you.
You need to go home.
You need to go home and check on that. Mm-hmm. They ain't gonna say, hey, let's go out to happy hour. Mm-hmm. Hey, let's go take this trip solo. Mm-hmm. They're not gonna say nothing. They're not gonna try to. They're gonna like, hey, hold on, you sure about this? Mm-hmm. You sure? I mean, you can make your own decision, but are you sure about this? Yeah. You know, I want to have fun with you and kick it with you too, but are you sure? Yeah. Because I don't want, you know, you got something that a lot of people desire, which is a family. You have kids. You have things that you've built together. Right. Are you sure about this?
And I think along the way, you can see some of those signs. You can get those motive checks. Yeah. Like if they have something contentious to say or something like those kind of slick remarks, like you said, like even just a little subtle to like, man, you're with him all the time. You don't get no girlfriend time. Like, is that jealousy or is that, you know, maybe they want some time.
You need to be free.
Yeah. Yeah.
You need some freedom.
Yeah. You need some free time. You need to be able to do your own thing.
Freedom costs though. Mm-hmm. And who are you willing to pay for? And you sign up to say you want to get married. You pretty much saying, you know what? I'm sacrificing some of my freedom, not all of it. Yeah. To have this marriage. Yeah. And that person may understand that. Yeah, that's healthy.
That's a healthy way to do marriage, is to say, you know what? Yes, definitely have some of your own time. Right. But it don't mean you get to just be like, well, I'm gonna do me and you do you and we come together at night. You know, like that's what we hang out. Right. Like, no, you do have to give up a lot to have a successful marriage. And making sure that is your first priority. Once you get married, they're priority number one. And if they love you, they're looking out for you and you're looking out for them. So they're going to make sure, hey, baby, why don't you go ahead and go get a massage? Hey, you know what? I noticed that you and such, y'all haven't really spent a lot of time together. Why don't y'all go out to dinner or have a girls' night? Or, man, you haven't played ball with your boys in a while. Why don't you go out? So we're going to be looking. Or it's even having a conversation. Hey, man, like I know you have some of the fellas are getting together. We're going to go down to the sports bar, you know, on such and such night. Are you cool with that? You know, how engaging that, like. And you'd be like, yeah. Go on. Okay, what night? Let me just make sure I have plans for that. Let me make sure I put that down so I don't plan anything else for us on that night. Yeah. But I think exactly what you're saying, making sure that those relationships, that they have their place and that they're respectful to the marriage and that they're driving you closer together. Yeah. Like we have friends like, hey, if y'all need a sitter, we'll watch the kids so y'all can have a night. And we've done that for friends. Yeah, so enough. Hey, we'll take the kids on this night so that y'all can have a night out. And when we need a night out, this is what we do. So just making sure that your relationships are in support of your union. Yeah. So another thing that can put somebody on the brink.
The wheel's about to come off the wagon. I'm sorry.
The wheel's about to come off the wagon.
The wheel's about to come off the wagon. Okay, go. We say that often, because like, I mean, it's like you have a particular agenda and topic, but like the wheels are coming off. It's like it's about to shift.
That's a country saying, y'all.
Is it a country? I don't know what it is. Saying. The wheel's about to come off the way. Just for a second, I will put them back though.
Okay, let's go.
I got to say that because it's on my heart to say it as you were talking. Yeah. So marriage is the greatest sacrifice that anybody can ever make. Mm-hmm. But with that being said, I believe that marriage is also one of the greatest benefit that you will ever get out of life.
That's beautiful.
So when you have someone in your ear, and I'm tying it back to points of wheels come back on. Now I had to say that so to come back on. When you have someone else in your ear and they're driving you away, you're driving away from one of the greatest benefits. Mm. They see only the sacrifice. Wow. But they may not see the benefit.
The greatest sacrifice, but also the greatest benefit.
Right. So I had to just say that. I'm sorry.
Don't be sorry. That was good. The greatest sacrifice, but also the greatest benefit. So you're saying some relationships, whether they are married, because they might not value their relationship enough, whether they're married or single. So this isn't just your single friends, but they might not get the benefit of the marriage. They just see like what you can't do. Right. And we can do that to each other. Well, I'm with you, and so now I used to be able to this is how I did do things, but you're missing the treasure that you have by having a spouse. But again, that goes to point one, having conversations. Well, I don't feel like I don't feel like myself. Or I can't do this anymore. Okay. Well, by articulating, I really missed doing this. I used to get up and do yoga every Saturday morning, and now we have the kids and all of this. How can we do that? Well, maybe once every other week, we can make some arrangements. You go play basketball on this Saturday. I go do yoga on this Saturday. I cycle, or hey, maybe once a month I have a girls' night and you have a guys' night, or maybe not that regularly. So having the conversation, which was the first thing we talked about, because when you're not talking, there's something there. There's that built up resentment, there's frustration, there's anger, and then you can begin spilling out to somebody else. So this can be progressive. Yeah. And then one of the things that I want to jump into is that you stop becoming us. It's me and it's you. It's no longer a unit. It's no longer us. And that's kind of like that point when you're living two separate lives. You just come to the house because that's where you live.
You don't know it. I don't think people purposely do it, right? Yeah. I don't think husband and wife, kids, family, whatever starts like all of a sudden like, okay, we're gonna do our own thing. I think literally, you know what, whether it's work, whether it's the kids, whether it's like you said, your extracurricular activities, whether you don't want to have my fun. Now you like, okay, now it's about those things and not about us and what we're doing.
That's why you see some marriages, people will be married 20, 30 years and then get divorced. And you say, wait, what happened? Right. Well, somewhere along the way, they stopped having that intimate conversation. And let me mention this. Some of those wedges that are in a relationship can happen during arguments. Like I always, when Michael and I have a disagreement, we always have to seal it.
We have disagreements?
What?
Right.
So we have to seal it. We have to talk about it. We have to make sure that door is closed, that we have an understanding. And we're not perfect at that. Yeah, but I am saying that that's something that has to be done. So because what happens if you don't is that becomes a wedge. And then you have more of these. And over time, they just don't listen to me. Well, we argue about this all the time. Well, I don't even want to talk about it anymore. Because way back when y'all were having these, somebody blew it off. Somebody wasn't paying attention. Yeah. And that's the kind of stuff that can create distance in the relationship. There are lots of things that can create distance. Like you said, there can be, I'm working a lot, or I'm over engaged with the children and no longer engaged with my partner. I'm not getting my solo or alone time. We're not getting couple time. There's all of those things. I'm overwhelmed with the responsibilities of the household or the responsibilities of family, extended family, or, your unit. But it can be, hey, I'm just tired of arguing with you. Everything seems to be an argument.
Tired of being sick and tired.
I'm sick and tired. And that can be a wedge. It can be And I mention that because a lot of times when you start seeing this shutdown, it's like, okay, at first it might be like, man, they tripping. Let's just keep moving. And we talked about this in one of our episodes, when I'm sorry isn't enough. But it's also making sure that you're closing that door so that you can move on. And then it becomes a building block for the relationship versus something that's destructive to the relationship. So once you've kind of had that, once that's happened, and now we're on the brink. Oh man, we've had arguments. We haven't done anything about it. There is shutdown. There might be multiple people in our ears talking about, well, she ain't this and they aren't this, or I always knew. So if we're here on the brink, Michael, what do we do?
So I think, I got to give people hope, right? Because relationships do get to the point where they're on the brink, but I believe they can't be recovered. And I think I mentioned earlier, like, hey, as long as one person is able to hold on, I think there's always hope in a relationship. I think a relationship only dies when both people decide to say, you know what, I'm done. So to get back, I think some hearts have to be softened, right? Yeah, people's hearts to get so hard to the point where they cannot hear their spouse anymore. Yeah. And that really takes a lot of time and energy to soften someone's heart, right? That may take counseling. That may take some spiritual guidance. That may take some internal inflection of saying, okay, you know what? How do I need to change to soften my partner's heart so that they hear me? Because like really, that person wants to hold you. The one that's really is shut down. They want to hold you to who you used to be, thinking like, okay, no, they're not changing. I can't really hear them because I know what they did the last whatever amount of years. And really, you may be trying to change and show a different side of you, and they just like, no, they don't believe it. So you may have to take responsibility, the energy, time, what's it worth to you, to show them, hey, no, I'm different. I'm different, not just with you. I'm different with my relationships that you saw me how I handled before. I'm different with the kids. You gonna see it, and they can still maybe not receive that, but you got to start down that path of showing that.
Right, and I think you said something really key. Is it's kind of taking responsibility, taking an internal inventory of how did we get here? Because in a relationship, it's both of you. You know, it's not always the other person's fault. What did I do? How did I respond? What did I not do that I should have done? And then making note, okay, if this relationship were to continue, if we're able to get back on the same track, what do I need to do differently? And communicating that honestly and transparently, taking responsibility for what you did. Hey, we're on the brink, not just because of you. We're on the brink because I did this. And whenever you have these on the brink conversations, it's not a good time to point out what the other person did. You take responsibility. You own you. Hey, I didn't do this. I should have done this. I recognize this now. It's late. So if you're asking for another opportunity, or if you're the one that's like, I'm out. Okay, let me evaluate. Why am I ready to leave my marriage? Why am I on the brink? How much time have I put in? Is it worth it? Is it worth it? Not just for you. Is it worth it overall? We are blended. So we do talk about divorce on this show and how it affects. Our goal is to have marriages stay together.
That's it.
But we also recognize that divorce is real. And everybody is affected by divorce. The community is affected. Your children are affected. You are affected by divorce. The families, the grandparents. It is something that really influences beyond the signing of the papers. So recognizing, what does this look like being on the brink? How long are you willing to wait? How long are you willing to press? Because the truth of the matter is, when somebody's on the brink, it's hard to pull somebody off. It is. It's hard.
It is. They leaning already.
They
might be already have a leg off. Yeah.
I know the axiom is it's a lot harder to pull somebody up than to push somebody. So if somebody's already kind of falling, that takes a lot of strength to pull them up. But to be able to kind of uplift the relationship, to push up the relationship, that's a lot easier to do. So we're talking about how to pull up a relationship when it's on the brink. So it's going to take some external sources. It's going to take you doing some evaluation, maybe going to counseling or therapy, maybe reading some books, maybe going to some groups or talking to some other couples, developing mentor relationships. So we want to encourage all of that, but we also want to recognize when your relationship is on the brink, it's going to take some introspection. It's going to take you recognizing these alarms that have been going off all along, and then even articulating, I did not notice these alarms. That's my fault. That's on me. They might have not said, hey, I'm on the brink. I'm ready to go. I can't take this anymore. They might have not said, but it's your responsibility to your spouse to get to know them. It's a process. A lifelong process is to get to know your spouse. But as I'm getting to know, hey, I'm noticing they're not talking as much. I'm noticing that he's taking more solo time. I'm noticing that she wants to be out more. I'm noticing that after arguments, we don't really come back together and ever talk about it. I notice that there's not a lot of healing. Making sure that you're being aware of your spouse outside of logistics. So that's some stuff that we really need to make sure that we're communicating about. So any final thoughts on that?
No, I guess the final thoughts we're talking about, if you can talk, you got to open up the windows of communication to continue to talk. You got to get the right people in your ear that are driving you toward your relationship. And you got to talking about us versus I.
Us versus I.
That has to be the focus. I mean, that's all those are very simple steps, but man, that's a lot. It's hard to do all of that.
Yeah. We're not saying this is easy. These are some steps, but it's tough. It's tough. And it might take some time.
That's a starting place.
It's a starting place. So thank you all for joining us. Make sure that you connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, and check out our website for more content and resources, fusedmarriages.com. Let's talk about it.
You're listening to Fused with Tristan and Michael.